Philippines Tzu Chi volunteers head to Bohol Island to provide both financial and medical assistance. Xiamen Tzu Chi volunteers partnered up with Gulangyu's committee to promote environmental protection efforts. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Lori Chen. Thank you for joining us. Philippines Tzu Chi volunteers went to Bohol Island to care for many impoverished households. Tzu Chi provided them with both financial and medical assistance. Thanks to Tzu Chi's aid, these families are able to get back on their feet.
The sarcoma on the boy's nose is the scar left after the surgery he went through.
We are very grateful to Tzu Chi for helping my son with the surgery. Without Tzu Chi, my son would not be able to survive because the tumor would have grew bigger and bigger. It would make the condition even more complicated.
Matteo was born with a rare disease. After his parents had asked Tzu Chi for help, the boy's life has drastically changed. He also showed strong vitality when undergoing 2 operations. However, such impermanence also struck his older brother unexpectedly. His ruptured aneurysm almost took his life. Thankfully, the volunteers were there to help. Also on Bohol Island, the Tagbilaran city is an impoverished area near the sea. 42-year-old Neil Barretts is a Tzu Chi care recipient. He was diagnosed with a rare disease called staghorn calculi and was forced to quit his job. This worsened the impoverished situation of his family. A much-needed surgery wasn't even in consideration.
I'm very thankful to the Tzu Chi Foundation. They not only provided me with financial and medical assistance, but also accompanied me to get through the difficult period after the surgery. Since it was such a major operation, we wouldn't have been able to overcome all the hardships if we were only relying on ourselves.
This is the man's second chance at life. Now his wife does a part-time job as a cleaning staff at the Tzu Chi Bohol retreat. She has become the financial pillar of her family, bringing hope for the future.
South Africa Tzu Chi volunteers headed over to the Kingdom of Eswatini to visit the local care recipients. Many of the individuals live an impoverished life, so the volunteers made sure to bring lots of love and care to them.
Tzu Chi volunteers travel from Durban, South Africa to Eswatini to visit care recipients, and their singing is the echo of land of Africa.
Send me to go and work for you.
Their first stop is this health clinic, so the volunteers can understand the medical care in remote areas. They also invite 2 nurses to visit care recipients with them.
Thank you so much.
And you are the volunteers now?
Yes, and we are so happy to be one.
Thank you.
One nurse asks that by volunteering, can they gain anything?
We don't tell them about that if you join Tzu Chi, you are going to get a nice t-shirt or maybe nice shoes. No. The main goal is to share love to our community.
Every family is quite far apart from each other, so the volunteers have to walk for a long distance carrying heavy bags of rice. The scorching sun is a challenge to them. This care recipient is in his 30s, but he suffers from a lung cancer and his leg was amputated. He looks helpless.
He will recover soon, and we told him that we love him too much. We'll give him more love every day.
Is there a future for this young unwed mother?
Now you must try to make your mind what you want for future. Because now it's 17 years, you cannot go back to school. But you can learn something which you can do, like handcraft or anything which can give you to make money. You understand? Not than staying at home with nothing.
Eswatini volunteer Sibuseso Simelani always insists on carrying a Tzu Chi English magazine with him.
I wanted to show and educate the community about the social work. So this magazine It has got the stories of the Tzu Chi, how things are being done at Tzu Chi.
These volunteers may not be rich, but deep down in their hearts, they are sincere when it comes to helping people.
Speaking of care recipients, today we'll meet Grandma Tong. Due to suffering from cataracts, her gradual vision loss started 20 years ago. Fortunately, China Tzu Chi volunteers have been caring for her. The warmth and care is like shining a bright light in her otherwise daily darkness. Sitting alone in the living room is 87-year-old Grandma Tong. Upon hearing the Tzu Chi volunteers' arrival, she naturally started to chat with them. Due to cataracts, Grandma Tong's gradual vision loss started 20 years ago. Each day when her son, who works as a janitor, leaves in the mornings, she's left all alone in the home. Fortunately, Tzu Chi volunteers have already been accompanying the grandmother for more than 5 years now. Even though she says there's no need, her hands have already started to unbutton her coat. Usually she doesn't like to trouble her son with her needs, so she would always bathe herself. While the volunteers helped the grandma wipe down her body, they realized that she hasn't changed her winter clothing for a long while now. They made a deal to bring clean clothes next time so that the grandma can feel more comfortable. They all treat her like family.
My mother has already passed away. When I see you, it's like seeing my own mother again, really.
Seeing her grandmother reminded this volunteer of her own mother who passed away 3 years ago. She couldn't help but burst into tears. It was the grandmother that kindly comforted the volunteer. The moment that they shared while tightly holding onto each other's hands were full of unspoken emotions. Grandma Tong's son had returned from work. He was also feeling joyful in seeing the Tzu Chi volunteers. Even though the volunteers can only stay for a short amount of time, the warmth that they have brought to the home lingers in the hearts of the family members. There's a very diligent Tzu Chi volunteer,苏林菊英. Due to financial difficulties, when she was just a little girl, she never got a chance to study beyond elementary school. It was a letter recommendation for a fellow Tzu Chi volunteer that kickstarted her journey to get back to school. She had 3 life wishes when she got married, and now there's a 4th one. Let's check out what her wishes were. For the letter F, I would write down the word Fu, so I know that it starts with F. And for the letter B, I'll write a 1 and then attach the number 3 to it. Stuck together, we get the letter B. For K, I remember back to where there was a zipper brand named YKK, so that's how I remember my English letters. This method helps me greatly.
The creative ways of memorizing her letters has allowed苏林菊英to finally successfully receive her middle school diploma. She is already over 50 years old and has returned back to the school campus. The story all began with a letter of recommendation.
One time, I had asked my daughter to write for me. I said, "Could you please write a letter recommendation for me?" Her response was, "One should do their own work." Then I thought, okay, I will do it myself. What my daughter meant was for me to first try writing it myself, and if I ran into any trouble, then I can ask her for help. I knew the words, but I couldn't literally write them on paper. I just thought, why am I so stupid?
One should do their own work. Her daughter's response seemed quite cold, but it actually became encouragement for the mother. It motivated her to study harder, which in return crossed over to her relationships with the other Tzu Chi volunteers.
I'm much older than her in age, but she's so patient when she is teaching me. If there are any parts that I do not understand, she'll always explain it clearly to me. She's very caring and loving toward me. She will teach me till the wee hours of the night, till 2 a.m. in the morning. She's so dedicated.
The Dharma name that Dharma Master Zhenyan gave me is Mingyu. In Mandarin, it means flare. She hopes that I can be that bright light guiding people out of various dark corners of society. When I first got married, my husband didn't have much because we were only relying on ourselves. He had asked me one thing. He said, "If you could have 3 wishes, what would they be?" I said, First, I want to have a happy family. Second, I want to own our own house. And for the third one, I would want to give birth to a boy and a girl. All three of my wishes have already come true. So I thought if I am this blessed, I should give more of myself to others. I should share my blessings with those around me.
Eager to share her blessings and joyfulness in life with others, over the years she has inspired many volunteers to be certified as Tzu Chi commissioners, caring for one another just like family members.
One day, without warning, my eldest son just passed away. At that time, I was in total shock, and the pain was just too much to bear. For a whole year, I couldn't come out of all that suffering and despair. She was the one that had accompanied me through the whole ordeal. Even when I was so depressed and suicidal, she was always there by my side. So I am really grateful for her. I always joke that everyone would eventually meet a person that makes a difference in their lives. But this isn't a joke. She really is that person who turned my life around when I needed someone the most. Money can't buy that kind of unconditional giving.
I always call her Superwoman. You can see her at all of the Tzu Chi activities. She never complains of being tired.
For the kitchen exhaust hood, she would be the first one climbing up there to clean it. The most oily and most difficult to clean parts too.
Not afraid of taking on more responsibilities, even the nighttime recycling events, she will not be absent. All three of her life wishes had all came true. Now苏林菊英is moving on to her fourth wish. She hopes to spend each and every day seizing every opportunity to do good deeds and to spread joyfulness to all of humanity.
Gulangyu is a major tourist destination in Xiamen, China. However, the once pristine World Heritage Site has been dealing with littering issues from the large number of tourists that visit year-round. Therefore, Tzu Chi volunteers have been regularly promoting environmental protection concepts and even set up a local recycling station back in 2016. Now, Tzu Chi volunteers have teamed up with the Longtou Community Residents Committee to implement more long-term plans. Gulangyu Island, a small island located in the coastal area of Xiamen, is a World Heritage Site due to its cultural significance. However, due to the large number of tourists year-round, the littering issue has drastically changed the once pristine scenery. After the establishment of the Tzu Chi recycling station on the island, another milestone was quickly obtained. An invitation came in from the Longtou Community Residents Committee in signing a mutual service agreement to further solidify future long-term collaborations.
People need to coexist with nature. There needs to be mutual respect and love, because there's only one Earth. So that's why we have been actively promoting environmental protection concepts in our communities. To us, Tzu Chi's recycling efforts are really advanced. And as for reducing the overall garbage amount on the island, we believe that Tzu Chi has the right methods in successfully accomplishing this goal.
Any one of the volunteers, they are all physically leading by example in their everyday surroundings, their homes, in the communities, and at their workplaces. They are constantly promoting about how to sort recyclables, what are the different classifications, how to reuse items, and how to be clean at the source. For Tzu Chi, environmental protection has always been used as a verb. Volunteers are always actively guiding and leading local residents and vendors to do recycling. All the funds found in recyclable goods stay on the island to help the local elderly population and impoverished households.
These local residents have all been inspired to give of themselves with a compassionate heart. This gradually encourages us to keep working hard in spreading environmental protection awareness to all.
In Hong Kong, the Tzu Chi Tianxun Wei Liaison Office has set up a community recycling point. At the weekly recycling gathering, a retired school principal will always come to help set up the venue. All the volunteers believe that their recycling efforts will help educate the public and raise their overall awareness.
On the weekly recycling day, a retired school principal will go and set up the venue. After crossing the road, one reaches the community recycling point. The female volunteers in the community will bring the recyclables from home and sort them together here. Although the recycling point is small, the volunteers are still very mindful in sorting each of the recyclable items.
We can raise everyone's environmental awareness this way so that they will know they can deliver the recyclables to their recycling point. Therefore, the spot has the purpose of educating the public while extending the lives of reusable items.
These recycling volunteers teach by example. In one morning, they can sort dozens of bags of recyclables. In the beginning, they had to hire trucks to transport all of them.
In the beginning, we did not have a recycling truck, and we had to hire go-go vans to transport the recyclables. It cost at least $13 each time.
The elderly bodhisattvas have become healthier after becoming recycling volunteers. They also believe that their actions will inspire more people to join their ranks to help save Mother Earth as well.
After 2016, Tzu Chi's recycling truck would come to help us transport the recyclables. Now our work has become easier, but we will still have to wait for about an hour before the truck arrives.
In this community, the volunteers work as a team at the recycling point. They've also established long-lasting relationships through the process.
In Australia, Tzu Chi's in Melbourne held a street cleaning activity on the Clean Up Australia Day. They went to different communities to promote environmental protection and invited everyone to practice recycling in their everyday lives.
Tzu Chi's in Melbourne were quite active in the Clean Up Australia Day. They used the campus recruitment fair of the University of Melbourne to invite students to take part in street cleaning.
So I was searching about clubs online and I found this group and I just wanted to participate in Clean Up Australia Day. I've never done it before and I just thought team environment would be nice and it was fun.
Really helpful, like giving back and taking responsibility to help our societies, to make our community better. So I choose to join it and planning to join many of your programs in the future.
I feel it's quite shocking to see, like, even though you're in the first world country, there's still a lot of rubbish lying. Especially since I'm from Indonesia, where rubbish is everywhere.
Trash that appears in the city is much different to the kind of trash that appears on the beach, but there's still plenty of it. Yeah. At home we do practice it because, as I mentioned, my roommate is really involved. But I think it needs a little bit more awareness because I think a lot of people think that soft plastic and hard plastic are the same in terms of how they're recycled.
So it should be recycled. I know that most of rubbish, like Earth, it's all about plastic. It's a big problem for the planet. Yeah, but I don't think we do something like that in my country. So it's like very good experience.
In less than an hour, a total of 24 kilograms of garbage and 29 kilograms of recycled resources were collected. To save the earth, everyone should come together to protect the environment.
Continuing our series on Taiwan's cooperative education system, vocational education has always been one of the country's strengths. Today, we will meet some vocational high school students from Myanmar. Let's take a look at our in-depth report.
The students are listening attentively to the teacher, who is teaching them how to make the dish. At this cooking class at Zhangjiang Vocational High School, all the students are foreign students from Southeast Asia.
They registered for the program for overseas compatriot students at the Overseas Chinese School. They will first examine if you have studied the language.
This is the vocational education program for overseas compatriot students. The Overseas Community Affairs Council helps recruit students. Currently, it only takes Southeast Asian students from Malaysia, Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, Myanmar, Philippines, and Cambodia. In Taiwan, for foreign students in high school or younger, they need to have relatives in Taiwan. In addition, they need to pay for the tuition and miscellaneous fees. However, for students in the program for overseas compatriot students, they do not need to have relatives in Taiwan, and the Overseas Community Affairs Council subsidizes each student $716 per semester. The students only need to pay for miscellaneous fees.
They only need to pay for the miscellaneous fees. For example, a student in the culinary school might need to pay for the ingredients in his chef outfit. The miscellaneous fees add up to about $324.
The Vocational Cooperative Education Program requires its students to study in vocational school and intern at workplaces. They will spend 3 months studying and 3 months interning, while regular foreign students only go through internships at their school. For these foreign students to travel to Taiwan to study, what kind of dreams do they have? These two students at Zhuangjing Vocational High School are Yu Pingwei and Zhu Shaojun from Myanmar. Both of them are studying the culinary major. Yu Pingwei's father is in the jade business, but Yu is more interested in learning to cook.
My parents opposed my decision to learn to cook because I'm the oldest son in the family. I really want to come here to learn. I promise that I will learn mindfully and perform well in a short period of time.
Yu Pingwei said that he finally persuaded his parents to allow him to come to Taiwan. Even though the Burmese government does not recognize diplomas from Taiwan, he's still willing to come and study here.
In Myanmar, the food business has developed much in the recent years. In the past, on the entire street, there were stores selling clothes and daily supplies. Now there is much change. Since there are many restaurants, there is a need for culinary professionals.
The professionals in Myanmar have learned their skills from other places. Therefore, I don't think it is suitable for me to learn cooking in Myanmar. So I came to Taiwan. My mother has told me, if you go to Taiwan, I won't pay for your expenses. She only gave me tuition and travel expenses. She said that I need to rely on myself.
Zhu Shaojun has planned his future. His goal is to continue to study at a university in Taiwan after completing high school. After obtaining alien residence certificate in Taiwan, he wants to return to Myanmar to open a Chinese restaurant. He said that he has come to pursue this dream.
My biggest goal for coming to Taiwan is to learn the skills and return to Myanmar to open a restaurant. I've come to Taiwan to pursue this goal.
We can show the professional level in Taiwan. How good are our techniques and skills? Their skills in these Southeast Asian countries are not as good as ours. We can show them how advanced Taiwan is.
The cooperative education programs in Taiwan has helped recruit foreign students. Especially with the trend of having less children in Taiwan, the programs allow the schools to increase in their incomes. The successful education programs have proved that Taiwan's education strength is comparable to that in foreign countries.
Last year, the Tzu Chi Brazil Liaison Office started teaching aphorisms 1 day a week to elementary school in the rural areas. Since many of the local volunteers are not fluent in Portuguese, other local volunteers have been inspired by their dedication. They have stepped in to do simultaneous translations for the children. Now that's the spirit of great love. Thank you for watching. See you next time.